Warning: the following video is a part of an ongoing episode-by-episode critique of the DCAU. As a result, there'll be massive spoilers for not just the season/movie in question, but for any other season or movie in the DCAU. More importantly, this review will build off of previously established ideas from other videos, assuming that you've already seen and are familiar with them already as to not bog down the pace. With all that in mind, enjoy the video. Well guys, this is it. We've reached the final DCAU season review in the original retrospective. I don't know if any of you are as sentimental as me, but this day really means something to me. I always recap just how much time has been spent on these videos and how far it's come, but seriously, when my review of Batman Volume 1 dropped on May 11th, 2017, my last video was Mega Man X8. I was 16, I hadn't even worked, I had just started earning on YouTube. I remember that day when I started watching On Leather Wings and Christmas with the Joker like it was yesterday. I recall how bad Batman Season 2 did when it came out, the copyright strikes, the Phantasm upload, spending so long in 2018 making the TNBA videos, feeling really excited at the end of the school year in 2018 to be finishing PL vs. AA for the first time, one of my favorite games, while also starting Superman Volume 1 for the first time in years. I never thought I'd see the day, but I have reviewed Phantasm, I've done Old Wounds, Mad Love, The Last Son of Krypton, World's Finest, Legacy, Secret Origins. I poured everything I had into the Star-Crossed review, which I've been looking forward to for 2 whole years, and I continue to do so for Justice League Unlimited. And now we've reached Batman Beyond Season 3, the last season I set out to discuss almost 3 years ago in May of 2017. Honestly, I don't have much in terms of introductions this time. The team was ordered to make 13 more episodes, and so they did. The only real trend you can get out of this is that this season was actually the inspiration for the Justice League series approach to season finales. We can explore that later. So then, let us dive into the final 13 episode reviews of the DCAU Retrospective, starting with Episode 1. King's Ransom. This episode was a very high quality disappointment. To explain, this is the final episode of the Royal Flush Gang and the return of Paxton Powers, but his role in this episode wasn't as good as I was hoping for. Batman Beyond Season 3 is a critical step in the DCAU, as this was the season where we switched from traditional animation to digital animation, which would become the norm by Justice League Season 1. The Royal Flush Gang is down a member as 10 quit and once burned, leaving only King, Queen, Jack, and Ace, as they're now stealing for Paxton Powers. But Jack gets captured by Batman and interrogated by Gordon, where we get to hear her new voice actress, Angie Harmon, who has taken over the role from Stockard Channing.
So talk to me.
Lady, if you think I'm going to fold, you're not playing with a full deck.
All I'm asking is, who were you working for?
Who says we were working for anyone?
Your family's taste in art has always run toward the Rococo, Louis XIV. This sudden interest in pre-Columbian doesn't fit.
What do I know about art? You'll have to ask Daddy. He knows everything. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to be shown to my room. I could use a little time to myself.
Sounds kind of chilly in the House of Cards. You think Gordon's right?
They were definitely working for someone, and I have a pretty good idea who.
She fits the good enough rule of recast, but much like Superman and Justice League, I do miss the old actress, as I thought she really nailed the older Barbara. The new actress has a much softer sounding voice by comparison. Paxton Powers completely rips King off here, and while I love to see that, just listen.
So, as promised, the Jaguar of Fideza.
Exquisite.
You're quite the connoisseur, Mr. Powers.
I developed an eye for it when Father exiled me to South America.
Our agreement was payment on delivery.
Wait, what's this?
There was a bit of trouble during the getaway.
I'm not paying for damaged goods.
Paxton Powers has been recast as well, but he is terrible. Paxton just had the perfect voice in his first appearance. He sounds normal, but is a vicious schemer under all of that. It was great. Now he just sounds like a complete and total geek. The episode also pulls a blight on Paxton, ruling him to be a total loser as the Royal Flush Gang takes him hostage and he's practically begging for mercy. Problem: when Blight turned out to be a lame duck, Paxton was the real villain there. You can't just do that to his character now. As for the Flush Gang, their family is in complete shambles, as Ace is the only one left, as it turns out that he's a robot. Honestly, I don't even know how I didn't see that before, as Batman was willing to toss a grenade at it in Season 1. But anyway, Paxton is held for ransom as we get this.
You can have your president back for a mere 20 million credit.
No deal.
Perhaps you didn't understand. If you don't pay, we'll be forced to dispose of him.
I understand perfectly. But it's against company policy to pay terrorists or kidnappers.
Ask Paxton. He wrote the policy.
I fucking love that line. It's against company policy to pay terrorists or kidnappers. Ask Paxton. He wrote the policy. Of course, Bruce and Batman do meet up for an exchange, but the real plan is to kill Bruce Wayne, as leaving any witnesses would expose the fact that Paxton Powers works with criminals,
But Bruce Wayne, even without Terry backing him up, is a complete badass. I laugh every single time that fucking Kane sends King flying into the water. I love the fact that this 80-year-old guy can just do this disappearing act thing like it's nothing.
Sorry, Mr. Wayne, but the money's too good to pass up.
But anyway, the Royal Flush Gang is finally brought down.
Do you have any idea what it's like living in someone's shadow?
Actually, I can relate.
Paxton Powers is exposed as Wayne Powers gets one step closer to returning to its once great form.
They're lying, I tell you. Bruce Wayne's my mentor. He's like a father to me.
Except he doesn't glow in the dark.
Hey, I resent that. Where's my lawyer? I'll sue.
Earlier in the story, we also see what Ten is up to.
As far as they're concerned, I don't exist.
I'm sorry.
Wait, you remember that note I gave you? The one for Terry Mcginnis? Did he?
Yeah, he got it.
I guess I don't exist to him either.
I felt bad in that moment. I thought Melanie and Terry had good chemistry, but I guess Terry has an easier time leaving former criminal behind than even Bruce did. I don't like what they did to Paxton Powers in this episode, but I still really enjoyed this one. A strong start to the season and a good way to close out the Royal Flush Gang plot. Episode 2, Untouchable. There's a lot I really enjoyed in this episode. The main plot isn't the most interesting as a guy in a suit that makes him untouchable, stealing a bunch of chemicals all over the city, but I do like his entrance.
Get a load of the freak in the long johns.
You really haven't been in Gotham long, have you, kid?
Halt!
Seriously, a super criminal maniac shouldn't surprise anyone at this point. But this superpowered suit is a Wayne Powers product as Bruce and Terry go meet the creators, and they learn that the suit is designed to help these children who have a developmental problem that leaves them unable to naturally walk freely amongst the rest of us. Interesting research, but the lead designer has an attitude problem.
And you? What makes you think you can rummage through my files like you own the place?
Because I do.
How could you not clap at a line like that? Because I do. One of the girls grows a connection to Terry, which of course creates problems between him and Dana as Bruce gives his 2 cents.
And besides...
You like the attention.
Yeah. No, not exactly. I do like her and I like being with her, but it's not like... You wouldn't understand.
Actually, I do. When I was younger, women used to throw themselves at my feet all the time.
What'd you do?
I stepped over them.
Smooth.
I thought so.
Jeez, at this point I'm convinced that old Bruce was laboratory engineered to be as depressing as humanly possible. I never thought we'd get a line like that. We all saw back in the BTIS and TNBA days that Bruce Wayne had an army of women out to get him, but he ignored it all. But almost regrets doing that now because of how lonely he is. A commenter on a previous Beyond video pointed this out, but every time we see old Bruce in the upper parts of Wayne Manor, it's almost always this wide shot of him alone in this massive house. You can barely stand to watch this. You want him to be happy, but it's probably never going to happen at this rate. Other than that, this episode is basic beyond fair, as the mistreated employee is the villain and is stopped by Batman. The girl drama goes back to the status quo and the episode is over. Episode 3, Inkling. Family and succession seem to be very important themes in this show. Terry becomes Batman when he loses his father and finds a new father figure in Bruce Wayne. The new Commissioner Gordon is the daughter of the old one. Terry and Melanie of the Royal Flush Gang are contrasted by their roles in their families. The first season is mostly about Derek Powers, aka Blight, as his even more evil son tries to kill his father and takes over the company by the end of the season. Max's desire in Hooked Up is to get more attention from her family. Armory becomes a villain due to his want to fund his family life, and another family story comes up here as one of the newly created villains from season 1, Ink, has returned. You actually feel bad for her in this one. We find out that the reason she turned herself into Ink and became a corporate saboteur was so that she could send money to her daughter, who is seemingly close in age to herself. Make of that what you will. That doesn't make Ink some kind of good person, but that just explains why she is the way that she is and does what she does.
I never thought I was living on stolen money.
That money put a roof over your head. You had new clothes, enough to eat. It's more than I ever had as a child.
Much like the season 1 version of Paxton Powers, the rotten apple does not fall far from the tree. When she asks Ink for her bank account info, it seems normal, but this was really an attempt to take every penny she owns, while also giving Ink a false restorative mutagen that starts killing her from within.
After all I gave you, how could you have turned out like this?
You never gave me anything except money, Mother. How did you expect me to turn out?
Like, my god, I was shocked that someone could be so nonchalantly evil. I guess I'm just so used to seeing that from characters that have some kind of power or gimmick or crazy costume. I would barely qualify this girl as a tier 1 villain, and she gives as little fucks as the Joker. That's strong, surprising writing, leading to a great ending.
You're blocking my son. What do you want?
When ink dissolved away, the police collected her residue. Now that seems to have mysteriously disappeared.
Why should I care? She's dead.
She's been dead before.
I also love how personally Terry takes stopping Ink after what happened in her season 1 appearances.
She was in the Batcave once.
That's more than I can say. Sorry, go on.
It was my fault. Wayne had to capture her. When she escaped, I went after her, and Wayne had to rescue me again. Almost got himself killed. That's not gonna happen this time. I'll take care of Ink myself.
An engaging episode to watch, truly. Episode 4, Big Time. One of the main functions this episode serves is explaining that juvie history that we've been told Terry had before the show started. By first introducing us to Terry's friend Charlie, who was just released from jail. Instead of being happy to start a new life, this asshole is looking to Terry to help him in the criminal endeavors. But Terry tries to help him go straight with a job at Wayne Powers, but this doesn't work. Charlie thinks he's gonna make it big in the criminal world, as Terry explains what happened to Max.
Charlie was 18 and I was 14. My folks were breaking up and he and I were being angry kids. Busting windows, shoplifting. Then Charlie decided to prove himself to this big gang and he dragged me along on a heist. I didn't even know what we were doing till he was climbing in the window.
But you went in too.
Never said I was bright. Next thing I knew, the cops were shouting freeze and I was doing 90 days in juvie. That was a slap on the wrist next to Charlie. He was in prison for 3 years.
And that's why you've been running around with guilt ever since he rolled into town. You don't owe him anything.
He's my friend, Max. And he's gonna die if I don't do something.
I love that. Max is a great supporting character like always, but the real thing that made that scene for me was how Terry is established to have never been a bad person. He had an attitude problem in season 1, but he's already grown past that. Terry was never some criminal asshole. He was just a 14-year-old kid lured into doing something bad by Charlie, and luckily his age made it so his punishment wasn't harsh. Terry has always been a good person at heart, so I'm glad the reveal of what his crime was shows that as well. Meanwhile, Charlie's path in life leads to chemicals turning him into a monster as Batman brings him down, which will get even worse in episode 9. But for now, solid episode that does a lot of good for Terry and Max's characters. Also good seeing Dana being supportive of Terry for once. Good to just not have them be fighting all the time. But now, we reach one of my all-time favorite episodes of the DCAU, episode 5, Out of the Past. Now, this isn't some star-crossed epic, mind you, but of all the Beyond episodes, this is just one I love every second of. Even from the very start, I'm grinning from ear to ear as Terry's taking Bruce to this Batman play for his birthday, and he fucking hates it.
I am Gotham's darkest night, the villain's darkest fright. Turn on the signal light.
And in an episode predating this little piggy from Justice League Unlimited, Kevin Conroy's singing skills are used very well in this play, and I love it. It's so fun to watch.
For as we all know, criminals are a superstitious, cowardly lot. They plan and plot, but they always get caught. Their evil schemes all come to naught. A superstitious, cowardly lot.
Come on, it took me weeks to get tickets for this show. It's Shway.
It's Schwarbage.
It's Schwarbage. As established, it's Bruce's birthday, and so he decides to look over the files on his various love interests from over the decades. There we got to see that Bruce and Barbara relationship we've been told about. And this is the first time we've seen Lois in a long time, and mysteriously, Wonder Woman is just not amongst the photos. Production versus timeline, ladies and gents. You're not sure where this episode's going at first, as Talia al Ghul then appears in the Batcave, clearly having used the Lazarus Pit to maintain her youth, offering Bruce the same thing, which is something serious to consider here, as Bruce wants to be able to help people and be a hero, but he just can't be at his own age. When Terry shows up, we get introduced to a concept called the Near Apocalypse of 09.
I've heard about you too. You're the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, one of the old man's worst enemies from way back. You helped the original Batman fight Raz one last time in the Near Apocalypse of 09. For the last couple of decades, you've been putting your father's money to work cleaning up the mess he made. Current residence is a 200-acre estate on New Cuba. What? Did you think I was down here playing vid games?
Very thorough, Terry. Though father's name was pronounced Raish, not Raz. A common mistake.
Something we may likely never see ourselves, but apparently Ra's al Ghul almost destroyed the whole world and the Justice League Unlimited just barely stopped him.
Eternal youth? You're slamming me. That's what I thought at first. But after everything I've read on Talia and her father, I believe it.
Do you think the old man's gonna do it?
Doubtful.
Well, I'll take his place.
Sorry, Max. Wayne said those Lazarus pits are more trouble than they're worth. Still, he did waver. There are times I can see he wishes it was still him in the suit instead of me.
You think if he takes the plunge that'll end your bad nights?
Well, now that you mention it, could be.
Now for the next scene, Bruce is driving the old BTAS limo in all its four-wheeled glory, and when it gets damaged, Bruce can barely lift the extra wheel. I guess you could say the first half of this episode is dedicated to reminding Bruce and the audience that he is old. As a woman gets trapped on the road with Bruce almost barely being able to save them as Terry shows up.
Even a few years ago, I could have gotten us both to safety.
Much like he was in 2019, Bruce trying to do heroics makes him a threat to everyone, and this is the final push he needs to go with Talia to go into the Lazarus pit.
And I know what's on your mind, Terry. You're worried that when Bruce becomes young, he'll want to be Batman again.
I'll tell you right now, there's no way I'm wearing the Robin suit.
Very in character. He doesn't do it because he hates being old, he does it because he hates being unable to help people or himself. As Bruce always said that Ra's unnaturally cheated death by using those Lazarus pits for so long. As they commence the process, we get a look at a new Bruce Wayne design.
I left in some gray. I thought it looked distinguished.
Like Ra's.
Thank you for the miracle, Talia. Thank you for restoring my youth.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be ungrateful. It's just that this is so new.
I should mention that I thought it was cool at the opening of Rebirth in Season 1 and this episode have slightly older Bruce Wayne designs while not being the main design for the series. I mean, character design takes time. Commendable to spend time on that when it only appears once.
The agility, the stamina, everything. It's all coming back to me.
Hey!
It's unnatural. A cheat.
But you're strong again.
No. If I stay here, I'll be weaker than ever.
That's right, Bruce Wayne doesn't like being young again. It's fighting nature itself. For what, to become addicted to the pit for hundreds of years? That's weak. He's old, Terry is Batman, and he has to accept that. Of course, it turns out that giving Bruce youth wasn't the true plan here as they aren't allowed to leave, but prepare yourself for what might easily be in my top 10 DCAU moments of all time. As Bruce is back in action for the first time in ages, and it's seriously awesome. But right when you thought it couldn't get any better, we get this chilling scene that I could watch for hours on end. Seriously, every time I get to this part, I rewind like 3 or 4 times as Terry, and more importantly Bruce, beat the crap out of these goons to the tune of the Adventures of Batman and Robin theme from Batman Season 3, only done in the Beyond style. Take a look.
Shall we?
After you. We're out of here right now.
I gave orders not to be disturbed.
It's him. Ra's.
Bruce!
I heard him, Talia. Where's Ra's?
I did not want you to find out this way.
Detective.
That clicks in my mind right away. Ra's has spent his time in BTAS looking for his successor, but by the time of Superman Season 3, he had switched to trying to heal his own body by taking Superman's powers, and the battle in the near apocalypse of 09 had left Ra's body so damaged that the pit couldn't save him, so he transferred his own brainwaves into Talia's body so he could keep living forever. He calls it the greatest act of loyalty, but Bruce calls it sacrificing his own daughter, which it is, as we get this great line.
Sure, Ra's, why not? Anything to hold off the Grim Reaper another few seconds. I take it back. You don't cheat death. You whimper in fear of it.
Silence!
And you hit like a girl.
Yeah, Bruce, this is just fucked. The plan is to now transfer his brainwaves into Bruce's body and have all the skills, but of course, Terry comes back to save the day.
Lady, that is the sickest thing I've ever seen. You're creeping me out.
You? She kissed me.
As Bruce and Terry escape, Ra's tries to save the computer, going down with the whole castle.
Whatever was in there died years ago.
And in the end, we see Bruce using his cane. Even if he technically doesn't need it right now, it's better to get used to it, ending out of the past. An episode I love because I find the story really meaningful. It tells us a lot about the character of Bruce Wayne and his heroism and wisdom in 22 minutes, as well as telling us the exact opposite of Ra's al Ghul. It also has the Adventures of Batman and Robin music, which is an extra 10 points. So yeah, this is actually my favorite episode of Batman Beyond for those simple reasons. Episode 6, Speak No Evil. Here's another quick one to get through. Terry meets this ultra-intelligent gorilla that was a result of a splicing experiment as these scientists wanted to splice animal DNA with human DNA, the reverse of all the splicing we've seen in the DCAU thus far. An interesting experiment, I must say. What it creates is a gorilla that's as smart as a human, that wants to hunt down the hunter that captured him and his mother. Once again, Batman Beyond just has a thing for making you sad.
What about the little ones? Them too.
I haven't seen my mother since. I was sold to the university. That's why I'm not too fond of you humans.
We're not all alike.
We all know from the second the gorilla says he's looking for his mom that the hunter will probably have no idea what happened to her, as he gives no fucks about the individual animals he hunts and sells under the guise of some good business. As Bruce says, it makes you cynical. With the help of Terry and Barbara, the gorilla brings down the hunter as Bruce and Terry return it to its home.
I've been given a gift. I'm strong as a gorilla, but smart as a human. I'm going to use it.
How?
There'll be more poachers. There'll always be more. But now they're going to have to deal with me.
He knows who we are.
I don't think we need to worry. He's a kindred spirit if I've ever seen one.
That was interesting reflection from Bruce. I didn't make the connection until he said it, but Bruce continues to bear his own pain, ignoring chances for happiness to continue his fight as Batman to make sure nobody else went through what he did at a young age. Interesting note to end on. Now we have what's probably the most significant event moment in the Beyond series since the Rebirth premiere episodes. Episodes 7 and 8, The Call. This episode begins in Metropolis as we see the city is still magically having normal sky patterns, unlike Gotham that went from normal skies to red skies to purple skies. Tourists from all over come to visit the Justice League's Metro Tower, which of course has been remodeled over the decades since Unlimited Season 3, but it's cool that the Justice League's base of operations in this show still exists because of the Cadmus arc. Also like how it was cool that the JLU was created because of Starcrossed. Anyway, yeah, the JLU is still a thing, only the roster's a bit small now. Production-wise, this is actually the first appearance of the Justice League in the DCAU, as they were clearly testing the waters for what a JL show could be like. As one of the members of the JLU, Micron is set up and injured in a train accident, bringing us back to Gotham City as Batman is tracking down Ink.
Okay, Batman, back off, unless you want to see me put the squeeze on him.
He's just an innocent bystander, Ink.
Too bad for him.
I'll take it from here, Batman.
Oh my god, it's Superman.
Well, Lois, the truth is, I'm actually Superman in disguise, and I only pretend to be a journalist in order to hear about disasters as they happen and then squeeze you out of the byline.
You're a sick man, Kent.
You asked.
I'd offer you a place in our new order, but something tells me you turn it down.
Guess you're not as dumb as you look.
Something wrong, Mr. Kent? Am I boring you?
As a matter of fact, you are. You know, Flash, this morning I thought you were just a hyperactive jerk. But you're okay. Give me 5.
No!
Too slow.
In the end, the world didn't really need a Superman. Just a brave one.
And I solemnly swear to all of you that I will continue to uphold the ideals of truth and justice, not just for America, but for all the world.
Everything he does from now on is your fault. It's a high price, but it's better than the alternative.
Literally one of my favorite DCAU characters is back in action for one final episode, so I just had to do the montage. It's always a treat to see Superman, so I love this episode on that note alone. We get to see this shot of old Superman in the Batcave, looking at the TNBA Bat costume with a sad sense of nostalgia. I just love it.
Good to see you, Bruce.
It's been a while.
You seem to be holding up pretty well.
I could use some of that Kryptonian DNA.
You'll outlive us all, Bruce. You're too stubborn to die.
Great line. You probably have noticed that Superman's not voiced by Tim Daly or George Newbern, which, first, it's weird how the DCAU has a different actor for every point in Superman's life when Bruce Wayne has always been voiced by Kevin Conroy. Here he's played by Christopher McDonald, who played Jor-El in The Last Son of Krypton and For the Man Who Has Everything, and I think he actually does a pretty good job. Like, you can be a big STIS fan like me and not feel like you're listening to Jor-El. It's Superman just in the future. Speaking of which, Superman has a new costume. I guess at some point Bruce and Clark were like, you know what our costumes need? All black with one color for the logo. I guess that's the in style these days.
I think it's time your protege joined the Justice League.
The Justice League?
I can't help but consider the timing. Is he supposed to be a replacement for Micron?
No. This goes beyond that. I've watched him. I've studied him. He's proved his valor. His time has come, Bruce. What do you say?
Well, I don't think it's my decision to make.
The Justice League.
The JLU roster in this episode includes Barda, a warrior for New Genesis that appeared in JLU Season 2. The Green Lantern, Cairo, a young Green Lantern, but a wise one all the same. Aquagirl, the daughter of Aquaman. Don't know what happened to his son from Justice League. Well, maybe he's ruling Atlantis and his sister joined the JLU. I guess that sounds like a good enough deal to me. And then there's Warhawk, the son of Jon Stewart and Shayera Hull, confirming that between the end of JLU Season 3 and now, they got together. Thank goodness. If anyone deserves to be happy, it's those two. But the JLU is not happy that Superman elected Batman to join without them.
Maybe this was a mistake.
No, I need someone I can trust. Micron's still hanging on, but his cellular structure was severely damaged.
Whoa. That was some accident.
Wrong. Someone deliberately caused that wreck, and I think it was an inside job.
What do you mean?
I found this hidden on the monorail. Not even Micron could slip through the force field it generates.
But anyone could have put it there, right?
No. It contains technology only the Justice League has access to.
I can't believe it. These guys are all big-time heroes.
I know. But I can't take any chances. That's why I want you here.
To spy on them? Well, that's gonna make me real popular.
There is indeed someone trying to get rid of the League from within, as Aquagirl's almost killed in the water tank.
This microcontroller's burned out. All its circuits have been fused.
Sabotage. This confirms it. There's a traitor among us.
And this is the part where I think they were testing the waters for a JL show, as the city's in trouble as the League mobilizes to stop it. A test to see how it could be done to handle so many characters at once, which I think the episode pulls off reasonably well. Warhawk gets an emergency message which Batman doesn't get, leading to his own death.
Only Warhawk heard it.
We only have your word for that, don't we?
Back off, Barda. Accusations won't get us anywhere. When we find out who set the bombs, we'll find out who killed Warhawk.
Spectral filters. Stop. Look at that. It was detonated from a remote position by some kind of ray. Shift view 60 degrees left.
Superman. I have to go back.
You have to do more than that. This isn't the first time Superman's gone rogue, so I made sure I'd be ready if it ever happened again. I always hoped I'd never have to use it.
Kryptonite.
Legacy comes back to haunt Superman again, and this is why I still call that the worst thing to ever happen to Superman. Not only for its immediate effects, but then for the Cadmus arc, and now over 40 years later, Bruce says he's been holding on to this kryptonite because of Legacy.
You always carry kryptonite around with you?
Call it insurance.
And they say I'm scary.
It's funny, I've literally discussed Legacy so many times that it's weird to not have done it in the first two Beyond videos. But that ends part 1, leading into part 2 as Warhawk is still alive.
How did you...
I wasn't in the armor. I was operating it by remote. That's the only reason I'm not dust right now.
Very shrewd. Not like you.
Tell me something. What made you decide to get out of the armor?
The emergency call, and me being the only one who got it. With everything that had been happening around here, I got suspicious. I told him not to tag along, but he disobeyed.
I like that.
Superman is indeed evil, but that's because he's under the influence of a creature called Starro, a great nod to that being the first enemy the Justice League faced in the comics. But where did this thing come from? Well, let's go back to Superman Season 1, which the episode recreates shots from. Episodes 9 and 10, The Main Man. Superman and Lobo were captured by the Preserver as the last members of their species, and when the Preserver was defeated, Superman took all the aliens and put them in the Fortress of Solitude that was only sort of established in episode 8 of that season. A few years before this episode took place, Starro took over Superman and he's been plotting ever since. I find that aspect of this episode a little awkward though. It's like this thing has been willingly using Superman's body for years to fight for truth and justice and all that good stuff, but only now it decides to kill the League as the Legion of Starro aliens are going to take over the world. To find Superman, they need to go to the Fortress of Solitude, which Bruce Wayne knows the location of. Good on JLU Season 1 for retroactively showing us that. And also, they use a boom tube to get there.
So much for the element of surprise.
I love that. Humans don't react well to the boom tube thing as metahumans do. Bruce says he always hated it, which Justice League Season 2 went back and set up as well.
That was fun.
As Superman chases Terry down, we get an evil-sounding STIS theme with the Beyond style, and I'm very happy to hear it. But Superman is saved as the two work together to stop the rest of the aliens, bringing them back to their home planet, ending the episode here.
Well, kid, I gotta admit, I was wrong about you.
An understatement. You saved the world.
Think you can get used to it?
You're saying you want me with you full time?
We could really use you.
I don't know. You guys play awfully rough.
Come on. It'll put you one up on the old Batman. He never made it past part-timer.
Yeah, he wasn't what you'd call a joiner.
JL Season 1 remembered that and set it up.
What about you, Batman?
I'm not really a people person. But when you need help, and you will, call me.
Understood.
But the ending dialogue is the best part.
Maybe he and I have something in common after all.
More than you think, son. More than you think.
More than you think, huh? That's interesting. But that ends The Call. Not the best episode of the show, but I really enjoyed it as it's such a great feeling seeing Superman again, seeing the Justice League shown for the first time in the DCAU with a great script and story to back it up. I love this episode. Well, with that out of the way, let's do a speed round of the final 4 episodes of Batman Beyond. Episode 9, Betrayal. Charlie's back and he's scummier than ever before now that he thinks he's a real big shot with his monster status. It's to the point where Terry gets captured and brought into the organization. Charlie's hoping he will join this time, as Bruce and Max have an entertaining dynamic.
I tried to stop him, really I did, but...
Max! What about the suit? Did he have it with him?
he dropped it. I got it here.
I'll be right over. Don't even think of putting it on.
Charlie's such a terrible person in this episode as he uses and manipulates Terry into bringing down his criminal boss so that he can be the leader and almost kills Terry.
And now they're my men, and none of them know I helped take him down. They're all gonna think you ran straight to the cops, and I was able to get away.
But the commissioner knows.
I like the way I look. The minute I walk into a room, I get respect.
So even that was a lie.
Yeah, and there's one more thing I lied about. When I said I couldn't kill you, I just didn't want to do it then. But now, I made you an offer, and you turned it down.
Like, geez, what a madman. That is until Bruce comes to save the day. Now there's a real badass. Bruce does disencourage Terry to face his old friend, as I'm sure it was always hard for him to bring down Two-Face back in the BTAS days, but the episode ends on Charlie falling into the river. Definitely couldn't have died from that, but that's the last we see of him in the show. Episodes 10 and 11, Curse of the Cobra. Cobra was the terrorist organization established in the Plague episode from Season 2, as we get a really good two-parter about the group this time. When Terry fails to bring them down, Bruce actually decides it's time for Terry to get more training, sending him to an old friend, Kairi Tanaga. The world building of the DCAU is truly commendable, as Kairi was being taught by Bruce's former master, Yoro Sensei, in Batman Season 2 as Kyodai Ken captured her, with Batman going to rescue her. A great saga of episodes. Whoever thought she'd come back as an old lady? But it makes so much sense. Bruce obviously knows her, but she's a bit younger than him, so she's still able to train people, unlike Bruce, and bam, you have continuity connections the episode didn't need, but certainly gains from. I love this scene at the museum where Terry and Max see VR displays of the dinosaurs. It's a small detail, but if you brought me to a museum with that kind of tech to see dinosaurs in action, my mind would be blown. But Terry and Max are both not shocked by this at all. World building. This is obviously just how museums have been, so they wouldn't be treating it as anything out of the ordinary. Terry meets this other kid at the dojo who's actually the leader of Cobra, engineered from birth to be the perfect leader. And right when I thought they were about to lazily reuse the splicing lab background from Beyond Season 2, Dr. Cuvier is there. So no, not laziness. Which is why Max thinks that their base is so high in the temperature, when these half-humans, half-reptiles don't. They're all cold-blooded. Speaking of Max, she beats the leader at a game in the arcade and he takes her hostage to be his wife. With Batman saving the day, stopping Cobra's splicing plan, saving Max, who pulled her own weight really well without Terry.
She's rude, she's sarcastic, and she has absolutely no respect.
Gotta be Max.
Ending the episode. Episode 12. Countdown. When this episode first came out, the Zeta Project series had just hit the air, with this episode serving as a crossover promotion. I must say, as someone who's never seen that show, it was bizarre seeing Zeta and his new friend Ro and Agent Bennett, as Zeta and Bennett are almost completely different characters now in terms of design and voice.
I was created for one purpose, to destroy. I do not wish to destroy anymore.
Do you really think Dr. Selig will show up?
The world's leading scientists have all been invited. No, this way.
They made Zeta sound like a human, which is nice. That's the first rule of recast. And I don't care what Agent Bennett sounds like, so he's in the second rule of recast. I'm guessing Zeta's naive personality getting him into trouble is a regular event on the Zeta show, as that's what happens in this episode as Zeta becomes mixed in with Mad fucking Stan and thinks nothing of it. I do like how this episode gives us insight into how Mad Stan works, like how Bruce reveals that Mad Stan only tries to blow things up that appear in the news. Like he sees in the news, oh, this building is doing something, so I guess I'm gonna go blow it up this week. I also like how we see his base of operations covered in explosive traps and shit. It's pretty funny. But luckily, Terry helps Zeta and Ro escape, ending the episode.
Then I guess we should too.
Good luck.
Z was right. You're a real friend. Thanks.
I will say I liked Zeta and Ro here, so that does make me more interested in seeing that show, whenever I get around to it, that is. But with that said, we've now reached the final episode review of the original DCAU Retrospective, Episode 13, Unmasked. Numerous production complications made it so that this episode had to air well after the last few episodes. This unfortunately led to a lot of fans expecting this great, amazing, beyond conclusion, but the reactions to this were more like this.
That's it? That's the last episode?
Yeah, this episode's a real nothing burger. We get a cute story of this kid finding out that Terry is Batman towards the start of his career, as the kid needs supervision as all these villains are after him now. But the twist is that the kid doesn't even remember what Batman even looks like, so the secret is safe. Ending the episode here.
I don't think he ever got a good look at my face to begin with.
Thanks.
How can you be so sure?
Because that was him. I see him here all the time.
And he's never recognized you.
Never.
Hey, Miguel, let's go. I'm coming.
I mean, I almost cried when this kid was more interested in playing with action figures than mixing in with the other kids.
He is playing.
I mean with the other children.
Seriously though, what is it with this show and making me sad about my fucking life? And then there's this unmasking scene that the Amazing Spider-Man completely stole, like unapologetically. Other than that, this episode is just an episode. The disappointment of this episode is what I mentioned at the beginning of the review. Bruce, Tim, and co never thought of doing grand season finals before, but this episode made them reconsider. If you, for whatever reason, have to stop making the show, you want to go out on an episode like The Call or Legacy, not an episode like this. So that's why all 5 Justice League seasons decided to go out in a really spectacular fashion, with each of those finales being a highlight of their respective seasons. We owe that to Beyond Season 3 going out in this whimper of a lost episode. Now, it's a good episode, mind you, but it didn't live up to what people had hoped for, which is understandable. But with that, we have covered every episode of Batman Beyond Season 3 and the show as a whole. It became clear to me what Batman Beyond was missing from the beginning when watching this season. There really isn't much of a story in this show. Superman and Batman shows were the same way, but everyone already knew those characters in the status quo. Batman Beyond was this new series with new everything, and yet the show is nothing but Bruce and Terry face a new problem, solve it, credits. This is not a bad thing, as I love Batman Beyond, but it's just more of an observation. I said that Season 2 was just the back half of Season 1 for a full season, and Season 3 is just that again. If you told me that Beyond Season 3's roster was just more of Season 2, I'd believe you, as I don't think this season has anything that really stands out. It's just more of Beyond, and while that's great, I think that's what holds the show back the most. If you watch the 5 seasons of Justice League, that's an ongoing story, which is what the previous shows didn't have. So where do I rank Beyond Season 3? Oh, that's easy. In the A tier above Season 2. It never reaches the emotional heights of Batman Volume 4 or Superman Volume 3, but it was a good ride. Beyond Season 2 got more of a reaction out of me than 3, but Season 3 is just Batman Beyond when they hit their stride. No rushed endings or any of the other flaws like the other seasons had. But not by much is the thing. Overall, this season is just Batman Beyond Season 2, with Out of the Past and Superman in it, which puts it as the best season for me. As a series, the creativity on display in Beyond is truly commendable, as I've hammered in numerous times. Overall, I think this is the most consistent series in the DCAU. Out of the 3 seasons and over 50 episodes, I don't think there's a single bomb in the roster, and that's definitely worth something. I loved Batman Beyond, and I was glad I finally got to see the full show and how my expectations greatly surpassed. And because of that, I recommend Batman Beyond to any fan of good storytelling, DC Comics, the DCAU, what have you. It's a great freaking show. Having said that, we still aren't done yet, though, as Batman Beyond was met with a film, that being Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. Wish me luck, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.